one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Fellow trustees, please notice the notice to the public at the top of our new agenda, kind of outlining the motions we will go through if we're disrupted. We can adjourn to a recess and then move to another location, so we don't have to postpone it for 48 hours because we've duly noticed it to the public. So, public comment. This is time for comment on public matters that are not on the agenda. Members of the audience are encouraged to briefly address the trustees on the issue that is not on the agenda and within our jurisdiction. Please do not attempt to address issues such as pending legal matters, private legal, personal issues, or private student issues. So, okay. Any public comments? I see Sean Pendina has noted Article 2, Section 9 of the Montana State Constitution is where you find the open meeting laws.
Oh, so. That's at the bottom is what he actually meant to say.
Okay. There are multiple people who either have no internet connection or poor quality internet connection. How can you threaten the people with medical issues of misdemeanor if they try to attend the open meeting? So it's a question, not a comment. Any other comments from the public? Okay, first item, school report. Principal Jen Stein and staff from Edgerton. Thank you so much for joining us a little bit later.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Jen, and I know most of you. This is my third year flying solo at Edgerton, and I was there as the assistant principal for 5 years previous. This is Sean Kelly, he's our technology teacher. Tyler Schreiner is our librarian, and Paula Sims is one of our instructional paras at Edgerton. So we wanted to start, Lance mentioned, last year we decided to look at our data and see where we were having the most trouble, and that ended up being on the playground. So I want to read what I read to the board last year, just to give you an idea of where the places we were coming from. So this book is probably the most influential book in my current leadership life. I've probably read it 4 or 5 times, and I mark it, and I highlight it. And the core staff has to hear about Brene Brown a lot. But we talked a lot about vulnerability and what does it mean to belong in a place, and that's when you truly get your learning. So she writes in her introduction, as I often tell teachers, some of our most important leaders, we can't always ask our students to take off the armor at home, the armor of vulnerability, or even on their way to school because their emotional and physical safety may require self-protection. But what we can do, and what we are ethically called to do, is to create a space in our schools and classrooms where all students can walk in and for that day or hour, take off the crushing weight of their armor, hang it on a rack, and open their hearts to truly being seen. We must be guardians of a space that allows students to breathe and be curious and explore the world and be who they are without suffocation. They deserve one place where they can rumble with vulnerability and their hearts can exhale. And what I know from the research is that what we should never underestimate the benefit of a child having a place to belong, even one, where they can take off their armor. It can and often does change the trajectory of their life. So we are aware that our job is that important and that we are supposed to create spaces in our school where kids know that they belong. So one of the hardest spaces, if you've not been in an elementary school, is recess. And it's one of those things that we kind of joke about. We're like, oh, recess, it's everybody's favorite. It can be very hard. There's very few times in your life that you're going to go outside with 100 people and figure out what you're supposed to do. And some people are following rules, and some are making their own rules. And often you'll find kids kind of wandering, trying to find a place that they feel like they belong and where they can really come back around. And so our goal was to create a space where all students find a place to have fun, regulate, and play together in a respectful, responsible, and safe way. And so Our goal under that was to decrease the number of incidents on the playground, allowing more instructional time when students return to class so that teachers aren't managing playground behaviors and students come in regulated and ready to learn. We spent a lot of time researching. And so what happened since that board meeting, it was kind of like a hot thing, and all of a sudden we're in the newspaper, we're on the news, and everybody wants to know what's going on. So it kind of went far. So I just wanted to show a minute. What we did. So since we've been here, we created a committee, because that's what you do in a school. And we did research, and we studied, and we set aside budget so that we can pay for things. We had a fun run, which was, that was hard, but it was awesome. And we net $24,700. And with that, we were able to build our walking path so that we would have some more regulation spaces. So we have a big track-like thing in the back now, but that was a huge community drive. And at 15,000, the kids were going to take me to the wall. So we blew it out of the water at 24,000, and I did get taken to the wall. We set up zones, so we taught behaviors like you would in a classroom. And then, so the walking path was put this summer. And then we didn't want to bring kids right now because of just the time and less exposure, but we did videotape a second grader giving you her feedback on what she thinks. We only have 2 kids of everything. I don't know what's happening.
Good.
Isn't it muted down in the
Bottom
corner? Yeah, right,
All the way down at the bottom right.
oh, there it is, right there.
Great.
Walking back, So basically, I didn't ask her, but she could figure out, and she was a first grader last year, that there were spaces that kids could go and they knew what to do with it. And that walking path has been used quite a bit for regulation breaks and air breaks for our classes where they just take their kids on a quick walk. So I'm going to let Paula talk a little bit. So the experts outside and the people who do really, really hard work are people like Paula, who've been at Edgerton for a very long time, 2 graduates of Glacier High School, just amazing. And she's part of our committee and really helps us problem solve, and she does the hard work outside. So I just wanted her to give you a little bit about what is different from this year to that year. And we can just kind of click through the slides. The blue is last year, well, 2018, and then 2019 is this year's data.
Okay, well, what I found out when we changed some of the procedures on the playground last year, what really helped was the specialists took the kids class by class and taught them the rules on the playground, how to use the playground equipment, how to play games based on Edgerton rules, not rules that they say were different, but for Foursquare, for wall ball, just making sure that they all were consistent on the rules to play. And then the committee provided all types of equipment for the kids. They had jump ropes, wall balls, footballs, basketballs, and that provided a lot of equipment for kids so that they weren't all playing the same game. And then, of course, the reteach was actually, so soccer and tag all at the same time, which actually is quite amazing how kids can maneuver through those games. But once we created some designated fields, it was easier for us to actually say, football's going to be here, soccer here, and playtime there. So it helps us a lot, and especially we could say, you know the rules, let's follow those. So that's kind of what I noticed on the playground.
Yeah, you can see that in the next slide, you had a bubble in January. But then it decreased again once we did that reteach. And so, like I said, it sounds like fun and games, but recess is a really big part of elementary school. People can feel like they have nowhere to go or a place to belong, and we spend a lot of time out of instruction trying to manage that. And I found that teachers had more time to teach in classes. They were very grateful that we were looking at this, and so it was a big thing to take on, but we worked really hard, and we're in the right direction for sure. So I'll help you with this.
Oh, sure. So, I brought this prop, it's not on the list, but this was also
Could you guys please sign in for me? Thank you.
this was also something we created, we made, really the big idea was trying to find as many different activities for kids to be able to do on our playground. We're lucky that we have a major, huge field and lots of space, and so we have this fenced-in area that used to be a beautiful garden, not so much anymore. And so we were like, how can we use that space though? So we had Bitterroot screen printers, shout out to Bitterroot screen printers.
Appreciate that.
They helped us out, and we purchased 8 of these massive vinyl signs, and we call this our snowball wall. So we've hung this from our big fenced-in area. Last year, not so much snow, so it was more like maybe a little bit of ice. But it didn't hang up very long, because I didn't want it to get ruined. But we're hoping for more snow this year. So we have a snowball wall. Again, it's 8 of these. We built a pavilion at the beginning of the school year. Myself, our music teacher, and one of our 5th grade teachers, we built a large pavilion, which would be a nice covered area. This is our new walking path. So I did a quick speed up walk around it. It's a 1/5 of a mile. And so we do this running, walking challenge in the spring. And the kids go out there literally for an entire week during their recesses and run or walk as many laps as they can. And so this will be super nice for them as well. But also we see kids out there walking and running just because maybe they don't want to be playing basketball and soccer or any organized sports. They just want to go hang out with their friends and walk around. So this is a quick version of our walking path. Pretty cool.
And the community in our area has really appreciated it. We worked with their HOAs before we started, and they're very grateful to be able to use that as
Yes,
well.
we see lots of families riding their bikes around it and things like that, which is great. Also, I just wanted to go up one little right here. So we purchased a big pavilion, which is a nice big covered area that we're gonna have a couple tables under. Our idea there is to give kids an opportunity, nice quiet space where maybe they just want to sit under there or read, or even sit under there and draw. Lots of kids bring notebooks out to the playground, and they just try to find a space to even just draw or write in a journal. So we felt this would be a nice little area where, again, just another opportunity to do something that's maybe not an organized activity. So yeah, we're just trying slowly. We started this last year and just slowly building it until our playground has many, many, many nice, safe choices for kids.
Can you quickly show your poster to the audience?
Sure. Now, this is just one of 8. We have 8 of these, and they're just all different emojis and targets. At first, they were all a bunch of different animals, like with targets and stuff, but I felt that looked a little bit too much like a hunting thing, which would have been fine for me, but not everyone might have been into that. So we just went safe emojis, and the kids love them. There's tons of different ones all over. So if we get a whole bunch of snow, we'll actually get to see how this works. Last year, it was not very much. So,
All right, so that leaves me. The solution circle is new to Edgerton this year, and it was actually created by our counselor, Lucy Bork, and it's been designed by our 4th grade try my mistake, rock, paper, scissors, through something with another child. The main goal of this is for kids to problem solve their own problems. And the paras outside do have these. Kids can walk up, say, Johnny and Billy are having an issue, and somebody didn't get off the plane at the right time. They can go up and they can be like, we can't solve this. And one of our paras will take this out and say, okay, pick one. How do you want to solve your problem? And they can choose. If they can't choose, the para chooses two for them, and they can choose one from this result. And basically, the goal is for kids to talk through their problems. It is for teachers to have time to actually teach and not be dealing with something that happened 5 minutes ago out on the playground. And it's a great way for kids to communicate amongst themselves. As a teacher, as a parent, that's what I want my kids to do. I want them to be able to solve their own problems. I want them to be successful with their peers. And this is a great way for them to do that.
Lance, did we get everything you wanted to know?
I think so. Can you go back a couple slides to the, I guess, the year-to-date in October? Up one more, right there. So if I'm reading this graph right, or maybe up one more slide.
October.
Yeah, of this year, this one here. So if I'm reading that right, is that showing that basically we're looking at 20 less yellow cards, which is one problem a day?
Yeah, so we had, and then the percentage of.
Are you colorblind?
Well, no,
Orange
if you see the top, it'll say percentages. So our orange slips are referrals.
Okay.
And referrals, 33% of those referrals outside were on this playground, and a lot of it also, which would be the next layer of data, which of course we cut a little bit short last year, would be how much behavior happens right after a recess in a classroom. Because sometimes there's some things that are being held on to. And so our goal is to obviously lower that, which we really were excited about the trajectory of it. And we would sit and we would look and we would discuss. And I really can't emphasize enough, like, it's the only thing you remembered about right this time with us is how very proud of the staff that I am. I mean, they have worked so hard, and it is a very challenging thing to put 520 kids rotated on, through a playground with special needs, very athletic, to kids that want to draw, and make it all work so that they are happier people. And when they're happier people, they come in and they're ready to learn. And I think that in a couple of years that we are going, because what we plan on doing was using our Ames Web data and to continue to, our theory is, if kids are happier and not getting in trouble, our academic scores will also raise. And so we're looking for obviously academic proficient kids, but we're also looking for kids who are safe and regulated and love being in school. So I think that's what we'll see and we'll continue to see. It's worth the really, really hard work, but boy, some of the best of the very best are at Edgerton. And our kids are amazing. And if you have any questions, we don't want to, I know you have a lot going on. Yeah.
So Jen, I think one of the great things about all of our elementary schools is the great playgrounds. The public uses those, and it's great to hear the community is using the walking path. Were the parents supportive of this program when you first rolled it out?
Yeah, they, our PTO, our PTO was really supportive, and they wanted to get behind it. And I don't know if you've only seen high school fundraisers, or $24,000 plus is huge for an elementary school. I mean, we are lucky to do $2,000 or $3,000 a year. So I think that the community really got behind what we were doing. We were very intentional about telling them we are raising money for this reason, and this is what we plan to do with it. And so even with COVID, I was like, this construction has to happen because we promised our community. And I think when you put a target, you put a goal and your reason behind it, the community stepped up and delivered. So I think while money is money and community support isn't always in money, the fact that they showed up that big for us made me feel like they were very supportive of what we were doing.
Thank you. I appreciate the coming back this year and show us the results.
Thanks for asking us for it. Yeah.
So were you able to make enough solution circles to send some of them home with the kids to the families?
Great question. We're just getting going, but it might be, let's use it as a whole community. But I think you could, the second grade teacher told me, yesterday, I think my class, every year we've been doing morning meetings, community building, and that is just our big emphasis. And she said, I can tell by the way they can communicate with each other, how they collaborate with each other. And that just, it makes us keep doing the hard work, because they're a family, and that doesn't just happen by accident. It happens by the care and the love of people like this who show up for kids and have a community that backs them, so. Yeah.
So on your playground, you have the different areas where they can play different activities.
Yes.
Is there some kind of boundary marker, or do people just sort of know that this section is?
Sean has been very good at learning to draw lines
Well, and then,
with paint, and then Paula maintains,
yeah,
you'll see
Painting a
her
line.
after hours, picking things up, rearranging things.
Yeah. so it's been a little different this year because we have fewer kids at the same time on the playground because we're trying to,
Sure.
have fewer bodies. So this year recess definitely looks a lot different than it did in previous years. Currently, we have one grade level on the playground at a time, which is maybe 80, I forget how many kids. Where in the past, it was 150, kids on the playground at the same time. And so our field, we've changed it a little from last year. Last year, we had three very, very large fields that we painted. Flathead, ground crew they let us borrow a painter. So we'd paint lines and repaint them after they'd mow and things like that. But then when the specialists, so library, tech, our music teacher, and our PE teacher, we'd go out maybe about once a month, maybe every 2 months, and go out for the whole week with every class we had and teach them, just go over the rules again. But we'd also say, this field is for football only. If you're gonna be on this field, you don't have a soccer ball. Soccer field is this one, football is this one over here, That way then they knew exactly where those boundaries were. But then as far as all the other areas of our playground, snowball wall, they just kind of wander through and pick what they want to do. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, my next question is, have you noticed, any of the children using the solution circle outside of an interaction with the teacher? Can you see that it's generalizing out?
We just started that this year, so being in the beginning of week 4 of school,
All right.
I don't have any.
I think it really comes to giving them language. So when we teach elementary kids something, we might say, oh, it looks like someone cut in front of you in line. What would you say? It could look like, hey, excuse me, it's my turn, or, you kind of teach that. And you do start to see that interaction, or kids do come, we have a regulation room in our school. And one little guy today is like, I am so dysregulated. And he just knew, he sat himself in the rocking chair, he turned over his timer. So kids can be taught anything, and they're fabulous at it. And you just it makes our job easier because we just facilitate and support, and they just kind of do. But I do know that language came when we worked on regulation, and I'm pretty sure it will come pretty quickly to them here.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Old business, information, here, clinic utilization report.
And Gwen is not here tonight, but Jack is very versed in this report and would love to take over the presenting duties.
I'll go ahead and stand up there. It'll be easier talking up there.
Might need to take a microphone with you.
Okay. And, okay, this is good. There's 8 pages to this. The first 3 pages just are data that Care here sends to us that I replicated in this spreadsheet in order to have a graph on page 4 to help understand a picture of what's happening. So the most important numbers are here down at the bottom, if you can scroll down a little bit more. So this is right there. This is the weekly utilization all the way across here. And I highlighted a couple of, high spots, that's what the yellow highlights there. And so every week, we get a report and it changes. It's broken out between, what Brooke does as a nurse and what Brooke and Chris do as the nurse practitioner and registered nurse with people when they're coming in to have more work done. And so there's always 100% on hers if she's doing a blood draw or a few other things. And then the biggest part is here where the utilization ranges a lot, and then this is just the combined number. So if you go down to the next page, toward the bottom, there we go. You can see that we had high utilization 1 week there, and the rest of them have trailed off. The last 2 weeks have been lower. Now, if we go down to, we're at 63% utilization total for everything. And then the next page shows the graph, which is really the summary of the two formats. One is the number of visits versus the available slots. And then this one is the percent of capacity. But in both cases, there's a trend line. You can see the trend line is flat, and we need to get the trend line moving upwards. It's got to get a slope on it. That's the key part there. Now we get into the cost structure, and here we get a billing once a month, and the billing doesn't get paid for 30 to 45 days. So we may get our financial report, and it lags what the numbers are here, because these numbers I put to show the actual time periods they represent, even though some of these have not been paid yet. And so we have personnel, we have supplies, we have the rent, we have the management fee, and then I have the capacity weekly here in order to come up with what's the cost for each spot, whether it's utilized or not, and what's the cost for the utilized spots. So we may have, and I've tried to break it out by month and or time period, because they have their payroll, which is the largest cost, bi-weekly. So I tried to set the months up bi-weekly to set it up. And so you can see a monthly utilization here, and then you can see the cost per month or the cost per visit for that particular month, even though each slot is there. So the more times we use it, the lower this cost here becomes. We have the fiscal year, or we have the first 3 months that were the prior year, and then the rest of it is the next year. These costs here are not taken into account in the numbers. I'm trying to show what our ongoing cost is on a monthly basis in order to track and make sure that we're going in the right direction. The early analysis of it before we opened it was that it would take us about not quite 2.5 years in order for this investment to pay for itself. So it's important to know, to watch the bottom right-hand numbers as time goes by. So if you scroll down to the next page, here, so we've worked through, this is July, we had 60%. This is August, we're at 65%. The cost per slot is $95. The cost per visit is $147. We're in the right ballpark here. The analysis that we were doing prior is that our historical cost, depending on which time period you're looking at, was $150 to $160 per visit. So this is getting where we need to be, but we need to get that both on a fiscal year and on since inception. So these numbers here are higher. On a month, this looks good, but it tells us that we've got to get our utilization up above 65%. So we need to be between 65 and 75% to have the benefits of the clinic benefit the health insurance plan. And then the next 2 pages are meaningless, only because I have formulas in there that when the costs come in and populate everything, because we're not experiencing this right here. These numbers here are taking into account utilization that I don't have costs associated with yet. Because I may have put in last week's numbers, but we don't have the cost data for those numbers yet. So these numbers here are meaningless, and that's why I have the since inception column and the fiscal year column and the since inception for the month that might have all the expenditures in it. So it's just a work in progress to see if we're on the right track.
Jack, how many months of data do you think we need before we can really have that answer of, are we on the right track?
Well, my simple one is 12 months. So I would say next June will give us a full year. 6 months will tell us something too. So looking at it in late January, after we have all of the numbers through December, that can give us, make us feel good or give us heartburn. But the first year is always going to be difficult.
Go ahead, Will.
So what are some of the drivers for utilization? Is there a program to increase utilization?
Yes, HR and Bromley in particular, who's the benefits manager, she's always sending out emails, and she's working with Care Here on advertising, marketing programs to get people out and reminding people of the availability. So internally, there's weekly communication on it of some kind. So no, it's not, we didn't set it up and forgot about it. It's being promoted all the time.
Jack, how does Care Here feel about our numbers?
I haven't shown them that yet. They haven't seen that. And I don't know what their analysis is based on how they view the data. So no, we haven't had that conversation yet. They'll probably say, well, we need to have a few months worth of data or a year or half a year in order to have an analysis. So I think it would be premature to get any conclusions from them. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this. After spending time looking at what the Legislative Audit Division put together to review the state contracts and the comments that they made, critiques and the positive things, which was all very good and helpful in understanding where we're going. It just made me think that we have to have some kind of method in order to track our decision, because I don't know that Care Here would track, I don't know what their method for tracking it would be. So this is my attempt to try and understand the correctness of the decision we made.
Thank you, Jack. Any other questions?
I just had one. Is your percent utilization, basically you have time slots and the ones that aren't used is your 35 and your 65 is the time is used?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Chris and Brooke together typically will have 56 time slots where they can meet with somebody to come in and talk to. And it may be that they're using anywhere from 30 to 40 of those. So we just have to bump those up. So there may be, if we're, so there's going to be, I'll just say, could easily be 15 unused slots during the week. And so the clinic may be open on Tuesdays all day, Wednesday part of the day, Thursday part of the day. I don't remember the exact hours, but there's going to be scattered amongst those days 5 slots that aren't getting utilized, that need to be filled up.
Thank you, sir. New business, construction contracts, elementary only.
Yes, this is an action item. The elementary schools have been going through a process to upgrade and replace security cameras at their buildings. Peterson Elementary is next on the list, and this is a contract to approve with Mark Cafferty, work in the amount of $7,030.74 to do that work. And the money comes from the technology fund. There's a part of the technology levy that gets set aside for these types of projects.
Any questions? Any comments? Will?
Is this a replacement of something that's existing, or is it a new system?
I believe this is a combination of both, of replacement and new.
Scott?
I make a motion that we approve the contract with Mark Cafferty to upgrade the security camera system at Peterson Elementary.
Thank you.
Second.
So this is elementary trustees only. Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Oh, Amy, elementary only.
It's Ursula.
Oh, hey, Ursula.
Hi, everybody.
Amy, are you there as well?
I am. And Lance, I had a question. How are, can you review, how are we supposed to let you know if we have a question?
I'll tell you what, I'll say, are there any questions?
Okay.
And then you can speak up. How's that? Does that work?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Construction contracts, district-wide.
Yeah, so this first one is for Linderman School, and this is just new cabling in the lower level of the LEC where they are undergoing current renovations to include an art room and a clinic. And the amount is $2,024.21. And the other one is a construction contract for Legend Stadium, and this is to replace the server and add some cameras. All of the video footage that is collected is stored on a server, and after a period of time, they just tend to go bad and need replaced and upgraded. And that is for $5,125.99.
Any questions for Micah?
This is Ursula. I do have a quick question. I was just wondering about, you said the servers wear out after a certain point of time. I was wondering about how long they typically last.
They start to fail about right now. I honestly don't know the answer to that. I think it depends on what the server is doing. Jack might have a response.
7 to 10 years.
All right, any other questions?
That was great, thank you.
Thanks, Ursula. All right, entertain a motion.
So made.
Seconded?
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Ursula?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Early K enrollment.
Yes, I bring before the board under new business. This is an elementary only issue and it is an action item. We have 3 early K classrooms this year, and some of those students that are attending the early K are under the age of 5. So state law allows the Board of Trustees to approve attendance for students under the age of 4, making them eligible to be included in the A and B count. So by making a motion and passing this favorably, we are able to count those children in our A and B count. This is new this year for us on the early K. And we are required by the statute to provide their names. Excuse me, and obviously we're careful with disclosure, so you see only initials and their date of birth to verify to the board that their age.
Kelly, how many students are in each early K? And I assume the rest of those would be made up through,
Yeah,
there's students that are 5, but there's like 35 names there.
I can give you the exact number here.
And the follow-up question, did we have any problem filling those spots this
No,
year?
we don't. So there's approximately 16 in each section at Peterson, and there's 18 at Russell. And we had, the other day when I looked, we had about 7 seats available, and we did not have issues filling it. Parents were very supportive and very interested in the early K program, so.
Thank
Do we
you.
have issues on the other side? Do we have more kids than we have space for, or are we?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the.
Sorry, on the other side, do we have more kids than we have space for, or are we?
No, we're about where we were hoping, but we do have approximately 7 seats open if there's someone.
Any other questions?
This is
Comment?
Ursula. I have a quick question. I was just wondering how, how did parents find out about this as an option?
Ursula, it was advertised, and the principals sent messages out early in the summer. We did a roundup before school got started.
And on our website.
Right.
that's
On
the
the
web-
website.
On the website? Okay, great.
So is there an elementary trustee who'd care to make a motion to approve these early K enrollment?
I so move. I second.
Further discussion?
Who was second? I'm sorry, Kim, thank you.
Elementary trustees, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Ursula?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And Callie, thank you for that. I know, moving beyond our grant, it's nice to maintain what we had started.
It is, yeah.
And it's a need.
Very good
that
program.
I know our governor wanted to see, and it's a need that it's great to see our school district meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is the traffic ed proposal, action item. Callie, it looks like you again.
I am. This issue is coming before the board as new business, and it is a district-wide vote that will be an action item. And basically, we have 2 requests that are coming in front of you. One is that we need to lease 2 additional cars, and the second one is the student fee for taking traffic education. We're asking that we increase the fee from $270 to $310 to cover the cost of leasing those 2 additional vehicles, and also associated with paying the fee online. On Monday of this last week, that was the last day where parents will have to come on campus to register. We are switching for signups for the next school year. It will all be online. So it will be much more user-friendly, customer-friendly. Parents can do it anytime they want to do it. But as you know, when you pay fees online, there's always something extra kind of service charge associated with that. So we'd like to just get that covered and not tack it on at the end. So anyway, 2 prongs. We need 2 additional cars, and then we'll up the fee.
Couple questions, Callie. So these additional cars, are they replacing other cars, or are they making the program bigger?
Hopefully both. One of the cars is a replacement car, if I remember correctly, and the other one we're just trying to add. And we do have more requests than we have staff to support, and we're hoping that was part of our strategic plan, is to increase our instructors, increase the number of cars so that we can support at an adequate level the driver's ed requests.
And of course, the online payment is part of the software we approved
It is,
last week.
yeah. No additional cost for this particular program.
Any other questions for Ms. Langer?
I do, Kelly. So I'm very ignorant about this. Do we offer driver's ed only after school, or is it also during lunch times or free periods or study halls or anything? Is this just 2 hours a day after school, or is this all week long, or how does this work?
No, the classes are offered after school. There's also driving after school and weekends. We do not have traffic ed during school hours.
Summer.
And summer.
And during summer, during the summer.
Is there, since it does seem like it's crowded, is there a way to expand it during lunch or something, or I don't?
The hours, it's a very tightly regulated course from certification coming out of the Office of Public Instruction, and it wouldn't fit during lunch.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have a question.
Okay. What's your question, Amy? Ursula, Amy?
Okay, I have a question
wanna-
while Amy gets hers figured out. I was just wondering if we ever have like scholarship options or anything like that for students who can't afford it.
Yes, we do, Ursula. We do have scholarships for students.
That was my question. And just how they know about, how students know that there's money available for them to take this if they can't afford it.
Can they just ask? Yeah.
Just ask.
They just ask. And I would guess any of the administrators or anyone at the traffic ed department could help with that.
One
Jeff?
question, the motion's gonna talk about, increasing the class fee from 270 to 310. Does it also need to include the leasing of 2 vehicles? Or is that, not require approval of the board?
I would say that it should probably include 2 motions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I move to approve the increase of the traffic ed class fee from 270 to 310 beginning September of 2021. So that's a year from now, that's not right now.
It'll be this next school year.
And that includes the leasing of 2 vehicles.
Do I hear it? Thank you. Further discussion?
I just realized on the dates, does that mean if you sign up before September 2021, or if you take the class before September?
It's the class that starts in September. Is when the fee goes up. When we do the online piece, the fee will be different.
All right. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Amy?
Aye.
Ursula?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. Personnel action items, new hires, resignation, retirements, terminations, changes in contract, and requests for leave.
Yes, so we are asking the board to approve the hires, resignations, and we didn't have any terminations, so. And the list is there.
So made.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Ursula?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. A new facilities director.
Yeah, so we have concluded our search for a facilities director, and am happy to report that we have found an amazing gentleman named Greg Nasland, originally a Whitefish resident and native, left 20 years ago, has been working for the last 20 years for the San Jose Public Schools, which is a very large urban school district. They have over 85 buildings covering 70-plus square miles of their school district, brings a wealth of experience and knowledge, is also a certified master plumber, which we could have used in the last couple of days, or since the water testing started. Anyway, offered him the position. He did accept, and but also had a chance to spend about 3 hours with him after he accepted and just talked about our district, and he is just excited to join Kalispell Public Schools. So I feel very fortunate that we had a great process and got a candidate who is going to serve us well for years to come.
And I want to thank Mark for joining on that committee, all-day committee, and we had great candidates. You know, people want to be here, they want to be part of the district, and Greg stood out. Yeah. Any other questions?
When is his start date? Is he moving to town, or?
He will be.
I missed it. I'm sorry.
Yep.
October.
Would someone care to make this motion to approve this hire?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor of approval of Greg Naslin as the facilities director, please say aye.
Aye.
Amy, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ursula?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Substitute retention and recruitment incentive.
Is Tracy Scott on? Oh, okay.
I am.
Tracy, talk to
Hi.
the board, please, about our efforts to recruit substitutes.
Yes, we have been working extremely hard to increase our substitute numbers. Currently, we have about 100 subs that have signed up, but we have only about 60 that we consider active. And I just want to give a huge shout out to Bree Eaton for her amazing efforts in terms of really keeping those subs active and encourage them to take those jobs the way she does. It's just incredible. When we talk to the other AAs, they certainly aren't having our level of success in terms of getting those subs to even take those jobs. So I'm so grateful for Bree. But as we have found out these last couple of weeks, we definitely don't have enough subs to cover our absentee activity that I'll be talking to you later. And so we really need to be creative. We've done a lot of traditional advertising. We've done a lot of posting. We put it in our school newsletters and things like that, but it's not necessarily as successful as we want it to be. So one of the things that we are looking at is we not only want to recruit subs and get that pool a lot bigger, but we also need to retain those subs. So a lot of times what happens is we could have 350 subs in that pool, but truly we only have maybe 100, 125 that we consider to be those reliable subs that are active subs. And so we've come up with an incentive program for our substitutes. And there are two options to this. And so the first one I'm going to talk to you about is the substitute bonuses. And that really helps us not only recruit, but even more importantly, retain. Keep these substitutes picking up those jobs and keeping them moving forward. And then the second thing I'll talk to you about is the finder's fee. So when we're looking at these bonus systems, I want to make sure that you know that our semesters aren't our traditional semesters. So we're trying to tie these to our funding sources that we have. So semester one is directly tied to our CRF funds. And so semester one is really going to be only that 58 days as it relates to the funding source, because we want to be able to pay those out by December 10th to make sure that we meet that December 31st deadline. And we are retroing that back too. So even though we're bringing this forward today, we want to have permission to retro it back to the first day. So those subs that have been with us and subbing are benefiting from that. Second semester is going to be a 119-day semester, and that payout will occur on 6/10. And so how this is going to work is the more subs work, the more that they receive in a bonus. And so we kind of have three platforms that I'll talk to you about, or three goals. So if a subs for 25% of the days that are in either semester 1 or semester 2, they will receive an amount that's equivalent to an additional $10 a day. For semester 1, it'll be $150. For semester 2, it will actually be $300. So that really encourages that employee to hit that first mark. The second mark is 50% of the time. And again, you can see those numbers for how that is based on those days. And we are encouraging them, hey, I'm a sub, I sub 30 days. You know what? I can sub another 30 days for another $300. That would be outstanding. And then the big one is the 80% of those days. And for anybody who subs with us, 80% will receive either that $460 in semester 1 or the $950 in semester 2, because it's $10 a day. And then any day beyond those 95 days, because we also don't want our subs to just sub 95 days and then quit on us. We want them to finish strong. And so any day 95 or beyond, they will receive $10. So they could actually receive $1,119. Is that right? Or $1,019. So it's a really good benefit. It not only is going to be an incentive for people to sign up, but it definitely is the incentive for the retention piece. And that's critical. That's just as critical as having a big pool, because if you've got a lot of people in that pool, but they're not subbing, it doesn't help. So any questions on that first piece before I move to the second incentive?
This is Amy. I've got a question. I'm just, Tracy, can you expand a little bit more on how it be retroactive? Will it be retroactive in terms of if you promise to sub so much more? Or I don't understand the real benefit of the retroactivity.
I'd be happy to share that.
If someone just worked one day, they're going to get $10 more, or if you could just explain that.
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. So we started school on August, I think it was 28th. I could be wrong on that. So we have had substitutes that have been subbing since the 28th of August. So for semester 1, we're not going to start it effective October 1st or even effective today. We're going to go back and we're going to make it effective for those subs on August 28th. So if they have already subbed 15 days, then they're already to that mark where they would receive $150. And that will encourage them to continue to sub. So that's what I mean by retroactive. This program is not going to go into effect today. It's going to go backwards. So nobody's going to get any dollars for days that they don't work, but we are going to give them credit for days that they have already worked for us. Does that help?
Yes, and you're saying they have to work at least 15 days for this to kick in. Is that how it goes? It builds up.
In the first semester. Okay. So we wanted to do it for each semester. We wanted to do it 2 times a year because I don't think having it a year-long incentive is just too long to go. Right. And so the first payout is going to occur on 12/10. So they have the opportunity. We have 58 days in that quote unquote funding area, or that semester is what we're calling it. And then the next payout will occur on 6/10 and it'll be 119 days. And then the other thing to keep in mind is that these are not going to be cumulative. So it's not like I'm a sub, and if I sub 15 days, I'm going to get that 150. And then if I sub the additional 50%, that's going to add on to that 290. That's why we only have 2 payouts. So they're not going to build on each other. So if I work, let's say I work in semester 1, I work 35 days. I'm only going to receive that 290. Okay. So they have to reach those marks, and it's not cumulative. So I'm not going to receive the 150 plus the 290 if I work 35 days.
Okay. It sounds pretty
Sue's got a
creative.
question.
Thank you.
Tracy, this is Sue, and my question for you is, first of all, thank you for presenting this at all the committee meetings and kind of designing this at each meeting, you know, making some changes based on comments. But have you talked to any of the subs that we currently have? I mean, is there buy-in for this? Are they liking the idea?
You know, we have not. I have talked extensively to our sub coordinator, and she is absolutely excited beyond belief that we're going to be giving this incentive. So we did not share it with any of the subs because we didn't want it to get out prematurely and then, you know, put the board in a bad position by turning it down if it wasn't accepted. So we do feel that it'll be very, very well accepted because this is actually essentially, you know, if they work these amount of days, if they work, I'm referring to semester 2, if they work 30 days, if they work, and then they work 60 days, and then they work 95 days plus, essentially they're getting a $10 a day increase in their pay. And so I do believe that it would be very beneficial, and I think that they're going to be excited about it. That's the feedback we've gotten from the coordinator.
Thank you.
Tracy, I have a question. If you get to a point where you've got one sub who's at 45 days and another sub who's at 40 days, and there's only one slot for that day, have you worked out any mechanism for assigning that work slot?
It will be first. I'm sorry, did somebody else want to answer that?
I was just going to say it was going to be first come, first served, Tracy. This
Yes.
is Micah.
Yeah, it absolutely is. We're not going to be, we have a list of people that we call. We start from the top and we call down. Now, those employees also have the opportunity, those subs also have the opportunity of going in and taking jobs. So they have two ways to get a sub opportunity. One, they could go into the system and proactively sign up for days that are already listed in there, or they get called the day of. And so if you have somebody who really wants to hit those days, then they're going to go into that system and they're going to pick up as many days as they can. So again, there won't be any gaming on our side. It's first come, first serve.
We'll give them the solution circle. You're welcome, Ken.
Any other questions?
I do have.
This is Ursula, and
Oh.
I have a quick question. Is it my turn? Sorry, I thought somebody else was talking.
Yeah, go ahead, Ursula.
So, you know, I'm sorry to even have to ask this question, but do we need to think about the potential for needing to pay subs more still? Like, I love everything we're doing, and I've been seeing the emails and the social media. Is that an option, or does that become a conflict of interest with our partner districts?
You know, at this time, Ursula, I think that this is the best way to go, because we already did that increase, so we are at the highest level at our peers, not over what our peers, but we're equal to the highest level. And now we're kind of putting it on the sub, saying, hey, you're able to make more money, but you do have to sub more days. And so we actually had a conversation about, why are we doing this program? Why don't we add just $10 a day? And I'm sorry, my computer's saying I'm low on battery, so just give me a second and let me figure out why I'm not plugged in. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I'm sorry, I'm on my work computer at my office. I shouldn't be getting a low battery, so I apologize if I lose you. I'll talk quick and then try and figure it out. So this is making the sub work harder and saying, okay, I am going to be committed. So it's that retention piece that this program does, that if you were just to give that $10 a day, that doesn't encourage the sub to make sure that they work 60 days next semester or make sure that they work 95 days next semester. So the $10 increase, the increase in pay would help us with the recruitment, but it wouldn't necessarily help us with the retention. So we feel that this is going to be a very effective program.
And Tracy, I think it was actually our presenting computer that the battery's low on, not
Oh,
necessarily
good.
yours.
Good, because I totally panicked. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay.
Rebecca's got a question for you.
Actually, you just answered one of them, and I had another question as well. So can you talk to me a little bit about long-term subs? You know, a long-term sub is a really special, wonderful position, and we want to make sure we're respecting and treating them well. I noticed that this is only for short-term sub positions, so are we making sure that we're also treating our long-term subs equitably?
Yeah, so our long-term subs are actually paid at the base rate of our teachers' matrix. So they actually get paid a higher rate. They're also eligible for benefits, and they are eligible for accruement of leave. So they are a completely different breed. They're actually under contract. So we do take it.
Even with a $10 a day, a long-term sub will still be making more per day.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
That's all I wanted to check.
Any other questions for Tracy?
I do have the second piece of this to speak to.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
So the finder's fee. So the good news is that last week when we did our new our sub orientation, almost 100% of those people were referred. The not so good news is that we only had 11 people. So that got me thinking that we really need to start getting people the word of mouth and making sure that people are out there. And this is a very effective way. I know that $50 may not seem like a lot to some people, but people really get excited about this. So that we're saying that if any KPS employee, including subs, excluding HR, because Bree was very excited, if they recruit a new sub, that person, and they sub at least 15 times, the person who referred the sub is going to get $50, and the sub would get that $50 bonus. So this is going to be, and I want to clarify this because you're probably going, well, wait a minute, is that $50 over and above the semester one? And it is not, because this program is going into effect October 1st. And so it will not affect at all semester one. So in semester two, in order for the person to hit that bonus, they have to work 30 days to get that $300. So this is just a small step of an incentive that, hey, if that sub works 15 times, you not only help your buddy out who got you the job, but you'll also get $50 as well. So that's how the finder's fee will work.
Thank you, Tracy. Any questions, comments? Entertain a motion to approve.
I so move. I'll second.
Thank you. Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Amy?
Aye.
Ursula?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Tracy.
Oh, we are so grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Information item, memorandum of agreement information. Tracy, you're also on the
Great.
agenda for this?
Yes, so we are in the process of negotiating an MOA for this year as it relates to, again, you know, the extraordinary circumstances of COVID that we're dealing with. And so this MOA is a lot different than last spring's MOA, but it does cover things such as the work site, because we do have staff that are on site. We also have staff that are working remote, so it covers both of those. It talks about mandatory school closure, how we're going to deal with that. It also talks about leave. It also gives us an update on the performance of duty. And it also addresses how we're going to deal with personal leave and comp time. And it talks about the stipends. And then just a few other things, making up for lost instructional time, and then some other things there. So the majority of this MOA, both parties agree on. We've had a couple of counters back and forth. But there are some costs involved in this MOA that we want to be transparent with you on. And we're bringing this forward as an information just to see if we're on the right course. This isn't anything that you would approve tonight because obviously it has to go through the proper process of being negotiated at the district level first and then taken to the board for approval. But we certainly don't want to put this much effort into it and then have the board say that they're not comfortable with the direction that we're headed. There are two areas to this that we want to talk to you about. The first one is the personal leave and the comp time leave. So as you may recall, last year we had in the MOA that everybody would have the ability to carry over their personal leave to the 2020-21 school year. And the reason for that is because we didn't have any school, and we didn't want to have a lot of people trying to take vacations when we were trying to get our hands around how to do remote instruction. Same thing with the comp time. The comp time was carried over as well from the 19-20 school year. Again, just to limit people taking time off when we needed them the most. This year, we want to make sure that we are addressing this and cashing out the leave so that it does not, every time you carry over excess leave, it adds more and more and more to their leave banks. And so we don't want to do that because that down the road can cause problems with attendance as well, and making sure that you have proper coverage for your classroom. And so what we're recommending is that we cash out the excess personal leave that was carried over, excuse me, as of 6/30, it would be cashed out on the 12/15 paycheck at 100%. And again, you can see that date as December, and that is so that we can tie that into the CRF funds. And then any excess personal leave, and we just define the excess personal leave so that they would know that. So then everybody would actually be back to normal on their personal leave banks. They wouldn't be carrying extra over, but they would be compensated for that benefit. Comp time is similar. So any comp time that was carried over from the 19-20 school year, and the compensatory time that's earned prior to November 30th. So we're working at any comp time that was carried over from last year, and then we're making a cutoff from November 30th, would be cashed out again at that 12/15 paycheck. The reason why we're saying November 30th, and again, Mike and I are going to give you an update on the COVID status, but we will most likely have to use our teachers to help cover some of the absences that we have. And how they do that is they forego their prep period and they cover for another class. And so that's how they earn that comp time. And so we're not only recommending that we cash out that comp time, but there's two other things, that the comp time caps that we had in the CBA, that we removed those because we had a total of 3 days. And we want to have the ability to be able to manage that at the administrative level, that if we need to use teachers to cover those to continue to instruct our kids, we will. And then the other part of this is that we would say that the use of comp time for leave purposes will not be allowed for the 2021 school year. We had a pretty big discussion on this. Oh, I'm sorry. And then one other thing is that the comp time that is accrued after on December 1st going forward would actually not be paid out at their actual rate of pay, but it would be paid out at the curricular rate of pay. So one of the big questions that came to us when we were in the committees is, wow, how are you going to be able to manage this? And this just seems like a number that we won't, that is really could have the door wide open. the language in this MOA may seem to appear like that, but we do have a management checkpoint. So any comp time has to be pre-approved and has to go through the administrator prior to taking. And so as a district, we are going to keep a close eye on comp time, and we will also be reporting it to the board so that you have a good eye on it as well. And then if we're no longer able to afford the comp time accrual rates that we have, the cost of the comp time, we will not extend that option to the employees. So we do have the management lever as it relates to approval has to happen at the administrative level. So two teachers can't get together and say, hey, why don't you give me comp time here and I'll give you comp time there. It has to be managed and approved at the administrative level. Now, with that said, that can be, we don't know what that number is because we don't know how much comp time we're going to need. We don't know how much time or how much we're going to have to rely on our teachers because our sub pool is low. So that truly is an unknown number. Jack, do you want me to tell them that you said that it could be taken out of the interlocal, or did you want to wait on that? Anyway.
Are you setting me up?
I am, yeah. But the other piece of this, so that's the piece that we wanted to talk to you about and have you, vet this so that you clearly understand why we're proposing this. And it truly is a management issue because it can become a long-term problem down the road. And then the second piece to this is the stipend piece. And we do not necessarily have agreement with the KEA on the extra duty, extracurricular stipends. We don't know what's going to happen with our activities and our program and our sports. And so we could have, in fact, we just kind of did at Flathead. Volleyball has been delayed for a week. And who knows, in the spring, we might, the governor might say no sports at all, and track and tennis have all been canceled. So there's two scenarios. We could either have, three. We could either have the season go as normal without any delays or cancellations of the season. We could have the season start up, but be canceled after the startup, or we could have the season just never begin. And what we want to do as a district is acknowledge that these people put in a ton of hours even before the season starts, and make sure that they do get compensated for the work that they do. So A says if the season is canceled due to COVID before it begins, the high school coaches would receive 50%, and that's because of the amount of work that they put in, the head coaches, of the stipend, and the assistant coaches and middle school coaches would receive 25%. So if the season didn't start, we're going to compensate them for probably the work that they had to put in prior. If the season begins for a sport or activity, no matter if it gets canceled mid-season or not, they will receive 100% of the stipend. So those are the two big kind of ticket items that we have in this MOA that we want to make sure you understand and can ask questions on.
Tracy, this is Lance. Just to back up, this is going to be part of the Corona relief funds rather than hitting the general fund, much of it. Is that correct?
Half of it would. So the CRF funds would be used for any of the cash outs that we have on in that December. But then we don't know what our funding situation is going to be. And so we really don't necessarily have a designated funding source for the next semester of the school. And that's where I think the board needs to be prepared to say that if worse comes to worse and we don't have funds available, that we do feel comfortable going to the interlocal agreement. And I'll kind of have Jack speak to that a little bit since Gwen is not on the call.
What would you like me to say?
I love you, Jack. Well, that you agree with what I said. I don't know. It's a tough decision. We know that, this is tough because we don't have a crystal ball.
And we do not know the financial impact.
We don't, and there's no way to tell.
What it could mean is needing anywhere from $200,000 to $500,000 out of the interlocal agreement to cover this need. The other need is just gonna be for budget deficits, which is already gonna be $500,000 that we'll need out of it. So we could be utilizing $1 million out of it. The only part that bugs me is we've been spending a lot of money in the last few months to the tune of $4 million in, I'll call it stimulus money. And we have the interlocal agreement that is our savings account that is designed to cover odd and unusual circumstances and non-recurring circumstances. And maybe this could fall into that. And maybe I'm just having discomfort with the amount of money that we're spending to cover that we've never had before. And that it's all been given to us and we're passing it through. And I just keep thinking, are we getting on a spending spree that we're not going to be able to reel in? And is it going to create a whole bunch of frustrating decisions for us in 6 months or 12 months when we turn around and have to start saying no or have to start cutting back budgets and or people because the money isn't there in the future to keep going. So the money's there, can be used. I just don't know where our mental perspective is going to be, and if we're going to have the ability to say no after saying yes for so long. Maybe it hasn't been for a long period of time, but it's been as long as some of you have been on the board.
I think one thing to keep in mind on especially the CRF money where there's, roughly $2.5 million is if it's not spent by December 30th, we lose it. You don't get to spend it. And I think from the standpoint of management where you're looking at leave carryovers and different things that we're already talking about the challenge that we're having finding subs and paying subs more money. And then if we give people their leave and say, hey, here, use it, we could be in a really tough spot as a district. And, legally we have to pay out the comp time.
Using the interlocal agreement funds could save us money down the road. It's just the mindset of having all this money it's a use it or lose it philosophy, and we need to use it because it's costing us more right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just concerned that will we be ready in 6 to 12 months to now flip the switch to say no, because the money's not there, and then what are the consequences to saying no? Yes, we've had the benefit of the interlocal agreement / the savings account, which may represent 4% of our annual budget, which isn't a lot of savings when you look at that. If people look at their own savings, do they have 4% of their annual income in a savings account? That's really what it amounts to, and some people don't, but many people do. So it comes down to are we going to be able to, how well will we be able to face the facts in 6 to 12 months? That's my only concern. The need for it is there, and it fits the criteria for it all. It just creates that mental dilemma that we're going to be facing.
Thank you, Jack. So Tracy presented this as information. Does anyone have large heartburn about some of the topics in this memorandum of agreement? Or is she on the right track? Rebecca?
On the first, absolutely, and we have to keep our teachers in our classrooms where we have some problems. I'm totally with you on the first one of paying out the leave last year. I think that's a wonderful idea. I think that's great. I always see steep curves. So on the extracurricular stuff, to say that we go from 25% if it's the day before the first game to 100% if it's the day after the first game, that's a pretty steep difference to me. And I know that some of the work happens before, but I guess I'd be more comfortable with something a little more stepwise than 25 to 100%. And maybe I'm alone in that, but.
Well, I know that it is definitely going to be discussed. I did have a brief discussion with our KEA, and I do want to tell you that they have been fantastic. Everybody has been fantastic stepping up this year, but the KEA has just been outstanding. But they did share that they just, they're not necessarily, they still want to have discussions on the extracurricular and extra duty section. So I think more work is going to be done on that. And to be quite honest, you know, Mike and I talked a little bit about it too, that, you know, there's no real easy way to even like lump them into head coaches and then assistant middle school coaches, because sometimes you have a position such as the middle school theater, the musical, where they actually work all year long on that. So if that gets canceled, we know that they have done a tremendous support or tremendous work on that, you know, with just everything. So I do understand what you're saying, and I think that there'll be more discussion on this. I guess let me throw out a burning question. Would the board be, and only because this is how they proposed it, so please don't think it's a proposal I'm bringing forward, but the KEA brought forward that no matter what happens, all stipends are paid out at 100%, whether the season goes or not. And so they just said everybody gets their stipends this year. That's a over $1 million budget. But what are your thoughts on their counter that they initially countered with?
That's what we did last year, correct?
Well, yes, but that was a pretty short. I mean, we were notified in March, so all
the spring sports had already started.
Yeah, so a little bit different situation.
This is Lance. I'm more comfortable with this graduated approach, personally. You know, I appreciate all the work and commitment people have, but sometimes, you know, some of that work doesn't start until a couple of weeks before. So, yeah, I just feel more comfortable with the graduated approach that is up there.
Okay.
And Tracy, this is Amy. I would agree with Lance. And, you know, part of me wonders, I know that the KEA, the negotiation, they do a great job and they're always trying to get the most that they can. And because that's their role. But I wonder if it might be worth doing a survey of the coaches. I wonder how many of those coaches really think they should get paid if they're not actually going to be doing any work, or is there some work they could do in lieu of that for the district, if they'd be willing to do that. Or another idea is if we know a month or 2 months that the season's going to be canceled, whether there's more of a timing factor. It's just such a big budget and it's so much money for some of those positions. It just seems like there is some inequity, you know, why someone gets thousands more than another and neither one is doing anything, if that makes sense. So yeah, I know it's complex, but
let me respond to two of those things. First of all, it would be an unfair labor practice for us to survey their union. So this is a negotiation process. You can't survey the members during the negotiation process. That's their role. And the second thing I just want to share with you is that you said that they always try to get the most that they can. And that's actually has not been my experience in negotiating with them. In fact, 2 years ago, the KEA came forward and said, hey, we know that there's, or I think it, not 2 years ago, but 2 negotiation cycles ago, came forward and said, I know that there's some major issues with the health insurance plan. And so we would be willing to take a 1.6 raise increase on our COLA, 1.6 on the COLA, and have you put more money into the health plan. And so, and that health plan, that health plan, wasn't just the KEA health plan, that was a whole district. So it had to do with non-unions, custodial, everybody. And so I think that they have more of a big picture than, or a group effort more than you may initially see. I do think that they look at the big picture quite a bit.
Right, and I didn't mean that in any negative way. I was just thinking, as you know, what's their role? They're negotiating for the staff. So I didn't mean that as a negative. Just thinking of the perspective and just wondering.
But they don't always do that. They, in fact, they're, you know, they can come with a fairly conservative one too. So I do think that they have the big picture in mind too.
Okay.
But
Well,
I
that's
think
good to know.
that
I appreciate that.
and I think that we can definitely look at so, you know, look at some modifications to this. I think that we're in the same position that you are, that we wouldn't necessarily want to just say, hey, we'll give everybody your stipend whether you work that season or not. But I think that there's some room to look at maybe more of the modified stuff, as Lance mentioned. So.
Any other comments for Tracy?
I just had one more just for clarification. For the first part, when it goes back to, I guess I got really alarmed with Jack saying we're looking at 200 to 500,000 and we can't estimate it. I guess I'm wondering, it sounds like there's all sorts of, what do I want to say? By the end of December, we're trying to do a lot. But doesn't the unknown come in January?
Yeah.
And after January, we might do the interlocal. And I am wondering if we could perhaps make a decision in December for what's going to happen from January on, when we have all the data from October and November, and it'll be more informed decision, if that makes any sense in my muddled speaking.
So we do.
I guess can I ask a question real quick, Tracy?
Yes.
Jack, where did you get the 200 to 500,000?
Those were numbers Gwen and I were kind of guessing at, and I don't remember all the specifics. And because there's so many unknowns as far as how much we're gonna, you know, do we save money on subs? Do we not save money on subs? Will it cost us more? And to what degree will we use up the 2 different piles of stimulus money and still have money left over? So it was a, I'll use the label, worst case scenario guess.
Okay, because that figure is just referencing in the comp time that would potentially be paid out. Because I'm thinking that our entire substitute budget is about $500,000 for an entire year.
Yeah.
So that seems like that would be a really, really large number if we weren't. I mean, that would be assuming that we couldn't find subs and all we were doing was doing comp time.
Right.
So it just, that one kind of.
No, I try to look.
I'm not the finance guy, but.
Well, and there's so much unknowns that it's difficult to put it in. There's not enough time to try and contemplate all of the paths that this could go down to guess. And that, Amy, we had discussions about the very same thing, because I brought it up. Can we phase this in with 2 different dates? And it would mean us having to get back together and negotiating some more, which is fine. But it really came down to how solid as what we have here for definition of what will be spent, because the balance, the numbers that I was quoting will be some of this and other unknowns that are outside of this agreement. And to me, those are the big items that we may not have any control over, because we may run out of the stimulus money and still have some expenditures that we have to incur. So I was just trying to come up with what could be a worst-case scenario.
And Amy, I just want to clarify again, when I said early on that this is not just an open door that's wide open that has no management levers. Again, we will be very, very closely looking at this and monitoring the comp time that we award. And that is something that cannot just happen. It has to be approved. It has to be supported and approved by the principals. And so we would have the ability of looking at that on a weekly basis, even a weekly and monthly basis, to say, okay, wait a minute. Hey, we're getting up a little bit here. I don't know if, this is the best way of doing it. And we also don't really, to be honest with you, we also don't know how long we can sustain that, because you're asking an employee to take away their prep periods, and we got to watch burnout. We can't have employees, doing this for the next 6 months straight. I think that would cause high burnout. So, again, we do have the management, lever in place so that it's not just a free for all or a blank check.
Will, did you have a question?
I was just wondering about the time frame for this. Is it this school year?
Yes.
And we've already started the fall season. Is there like a percentage of our sports that are canceled already for this season?
No, we haven't, nothing has been canceled. There is some conversation at MHSA about moving wrestling into the spring. And there may be some additional calendar adjustments. And that's just going to depend on what's happening with COVID cases across the state.
It's kind of, if we're not able to hold our season, which we're in the middle of an outbreak here right now, and we're doing okay as far as sports.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of an emergency.
Yes.
Emergency.
Good to have in place.
Yes.
So Tracy, what is your timeline? When would you like to see this memorandum of agreement completed?
Well, both parties would like to get it sooner rather than later, so that the employees know what's going to happen to their personal days and their comp time. We do have some employees right now that aren't aware of this, some teachers that are taking personal days and are taking comp time. And not that we are saying you can't take any personal days, but I think they would be less likely to take them if they knew that they could cash them out for December to have a great Christmas. So we are going to be meeting on this tomorrow with the KEA and trying to talk and trying to get a little bit closer. I think everything's good except for that stipend section. And obviously, if we move on the stipend section, it may impact the other parts of it, but we'd like to get it done very quickly. So if you think we're in the right direction, and if you feel like we're moving in the right direction, then that's great. That gives us good information to move forward on, so that when we do bring you the final document, we know that we at least have, we're going to be in the ballpark, and you'll support it.
I think you are, Tracy.
Yeah.
I think I'm looking around the trustees, and I think we've asked the questions, and yeah, thank you for your hard work. And Lynn, thank you for your hard work on this.
And I just want to add, I just really appreciate this presentation. I just think it's great. Thank you so much.
So work study topic, the Ascent program at Glacier High School.
Yes.
Thank you for your patience.
The moment we've all been waiting for. This better be really good, Chris. How's that for an intro? Chris, do you want me to intro, or do you want to just pick up and go? Because I would be glad to.
Yes, please.
All right. So tonight in front of you, you have some members of Glacier High School's Ascent program, including Lance Labram, Assistant Principal, Chris Weeks, School Counselor, Sandy Lawrence, our Ascent Director, and Nick Baronato, who is also a social worker and working with our students in our Ascent program. And this was a program that was started 3 years ago. It was grant funded through the Montana Academy Foundation, and I was in at the very start of this program at Glacier High School, and I've since left and turned it over to great people, and I will let them do all the talking.
Yeah, thanks, Micah.
You're welcome, Chris.
Pleasure working with him on this. So I'm Chris Weeks. I'm one of the school counselors in one of the high schools here in Kalispell, and I won't be asking for comp time tonight. Grateful to be here. Very grateful, sincerely. It is good. It's an interesting season in life. You know, there's a lot of no's right now in life. So, like, if you watch the Seattle Seahawks, there's no crowd. It's weird. If you're trying to go to Disneyland, it's a big fat no. And there's no Marvel movies, which is not good at all. And there's a lot of maybes. Maybe you'll go somewhere for spring break, and maybe you can buy a bike in March if they ever stock them again. This program was a big maybe. It was. We didn't know if it was going to work, so it was established in 2018 from a partnership from Montana Academy Foundation, and it really was designed to teach social emotional skills to at-risk students. So that was the purpose. And the Montana Academy Foundation, they stepped in to provide guidance, the financial means to support this program, to create an innovative program that really focuses on adolescent maturity. That was the goal. And we say maturity basically in the sense that it's students learning and living qualities like empathy, ethics, responsibility, healthy relationships. And we really didn't know if it was going to work. It was an experiment for a couple reasons. So one of the biggest differences between the public school and Montana Academy was, first of all, it's voluntary at the high school. They can decide not to do it. They can bail on the program, which we wouldn't have a program then. The second thing is Montana Academy, which is a therapeutic boarding school in Marion. Their students there are under 24-hour care. And we thought about asking students to do that, but we thought they might not want to be in the so decided not that. So there were some differences, but there was one bridge between Montana Academy and Glacier High School. Basically, we took 175 years of cumulative experience on adolescent maturity from them and tried to apply it to a course at a public high school. And the results were pretty astounding. So currently, right now, we have two classes with 10 new students at the high school. We have a third class with our third-year students, and we have a mentoring program from students who essentially graduated, and now they're coming back to help some of the new students. And the next slide is really the end result of what we found. So we wanted to measure the success of it. We don't just want a random experiment. We want to measure it. We had two data points that we were going to track. One was the dropout rate, and the other one was the on track to graduate. And so our initial 25 students, Ascent students, we compared them with 50 other students, control students, that had similar criteria they could have fit into the program. And what we found was the dropout rate for the Ascent students was 4%. The dropout rate from the control group was 22%. So it's a pretty big difference in that. For the on-track to graduate rate, we found that our students, our Ascent students, were at about an 89% rate, and the control group was 67%. So definitely our students were more on track to graduate than some of the control group. So in terms of the no's and the maybes in life, I think this was a big yes to the success of the program and a win for the students. And so we're gonna just break down, we have a few people that are on the ground floor running the day-to-day operations of the program. We're gonna have them get up in just a second and talk about what's been going on now and what we're gonna look to in the future for this program. And I also want to just introduce Mr. Labram here again. He is going to serve as our administrative coordinator for the Ascent program this year. Please intro him.
Yes. And I'll just talk for a real quick minute. I really just fell into this because Micah took a new position. Mike and Chris are really.
He did not fall into it.
Mike and Chris are the visionaries, and then Nick and Sandy are folks on the ground running it day to day. And I've had, from an administrator perspective, I've had an opportunity to work with Sandy last year quite a bit with individual students, and really, my data is all anecdotal, but I had an opportunity to speak with the Ascent program, the new class, and some of the mentors, last week, and really, as I look out there, and as I look at the picture Chris showed at the beginning, and I could commiserate with Mike on some of those kids, because we've seen those kids from coming as freshmen, and to see where they're at as sophomores now, or seniors, excuse me, is really incredible. And not all of them necessarily have a discipline and seeing them in that area. Some of them, yes, but just the maturity, as Chris said, what the program is about, and seeing those kids that are now tackling their senior year and moving forward. It's really been an amazing thing. There's two things in our district two programs that have really, in my mind, have helped students move on. One has been the summer school program, just because of credit recovery. The second has been the Ascent program, and getting kids to that level where they're going to graduate and where they're going to be successful in life, and where they're really going to be able to take on the challenges that they see on a day-to-day basis. So I'm really excited to be involved with the program, as I was last year, just working with Sandy with individual students. So it's really neat to be a little more involved with the program and bring Nick on this year, and to see two folks that are connecting with kids on a day-to-day basis and helping them navigate life. So I'll turn the time over to Nick. Thank you.
Excuse me. Hi, everybody. Thanks for giving us a few minutes. I just wanted to tell you, I get to get up every day and do what I never imagined I'd get to do. I can't imagine a better job, because I get to work with these amazing high school students who don't always realize yet that they're amazing, and help them figure out how incredible they are, help them find vision. It's been an amazing time for me. So I just want to kind of give you a feel for what the program's about a little bit, what we do on a daily basis. We do our class time every day. So we see these guys, as Chris said, we've got 10 new sophomore boys and 10 new sophomore girls this year, and that's super fun. We are in the messy part of life with them, of breaking in new group norms and figuring out what this looks like, and it's been great. We're establishing some trust there and getting moving in, and it really is fun to have a new group to compare to our seniors, and it just helps us see, wow, the progress that these guys make over time. So every day we see them in class, 6th period and 7th. We often see them before then in our one-on-ones, but during class time, we really have 3 main components. As we were talking today, kind of what are our big themes. We really base everything we do on a curriculum that stems from Montana Academy, and there are four main tenets or focuses, and that would be empathy, relationships, ethics, and planfulness or goal setting. So everything we do centers around those things. We break it down from there. We do a lot of relationship stuff, a lot of, like I said, goal setting, and how do I set a goal and break it down so we can really get there. Super awesome stuff all day long. We just process with these guys about how do I really get where I want to go? How do I even know where I want to go? And it's fun to watch the process. The other thing that we really do in that group is just try to create a place where those guys feel like they belong. They can find their relationships they're looking for. A lot of them come in not quite knowing how to navigate relationships, and this is where they can find a place to belong, a place in the school where they feel like it's theirs. So we work on a lot of skills, a lot of relational skills, a lot of up by either scheduled or surprise one-on-one, but somebody's got something going on that they, you know, they're struggling through. We meet with them, talk, problem solve, go through the options and help them find a way through it. Sometimes we meet with parents, and students in that time. Those one-on-ones, we go through, what we've broken down into skill sets, where we try to hit those 4 major areas, and how are we really doing in that, and how are we progressing? And they have skill sets that they work through where they can meet different levels, and it just helps them see their progress, see how they're growing in those areas, and how they're learning, and making progress in those areas. So we do that in the one-on-ones, and we really just get to know each other. It's really a mentorship kind of thing. We just spend our time really trying to know those kids and understand what their struggles are, understand what their strengths are, and help them build, you know, all of those things and create some visions for the future. Then we hit that academic accountability in collaboration with teachers. That's a long one, but it's such a key one. You know, sometimes our kids really struggle with academics. It's just trying to set those goals, trying to figure out how do I get my homework done. Teenagers in general struggle with those things, right? So we really work on that, you know, catching up. Today we did a really structured study hall, and once in a while we'll take those in and put it behind and just, okay, here's how we tackle this. We tackle it one assignment at a time and go from there. So that academic accountability is a big piece, and we also really have been growing and working on that collaboration with teachers. And that's something we've seen grow a lot over last year and into this year is teachers are now knowing us within the building, which is great. And they're contacting us saying, hey, this kiddo is struggling, you know, we know they're in your program, how can we work together, and we can come up with a plan for teachers. So that's been a fun kind of growing aspect of the program. Our out-of-class experiential activities, man, those range from, you know, we're going to Big Sky Bible Camp to use their facilities next week just for the day. We usually do it overnight, but COVID. So we're going to go out there, and those times are amazing just for relationship building, kind of trust building. It really helps the group form, and we just get some great time to do different things that may push students a little bit out of their comfort zone, may help them conquer some fears, may help them really learn to trust another classmate or trust staff a little bit. We find those experiential activities, which can be anything from going to U of M to our Big Sky Bible Camp to skiing to pottery. We find those are some of our best times just to get out of school, spend the time with the kids, and they really grow in new fun ways. Engagement with families. That's one thing that we really enjoy. We have a parent night every month, and not all parents are comfortable coming, so we've experimented with a bunch of different ways of doing that. We did a bowling night last year that was fun for parents who didn't feel comfortable coming to school, but that's really just a way to connect with families. And if we can build relationship with them, then we can hopefully help a whole system grow instead of just a student, right? And that we've seen that really turn out to be a great way to help the whole community of events instead of just the students. It's building that relationship with parents, letting them know they're not alone, like, hey, you're raising teenagers, so am I, and we're all in it together. So really love that family connection, and we really are able to, you know, just jump in when there's some crisis going on and sometimes be a little bit of help. So that's great. And then lastly, those community involvement projects, and those vary. Last year we went to Night to Shine, and the girls, we were on a retreat, and we took a night to go be with the disabled community, and that was super fun for them. Those community projects just give them a chance to step outside of themselves, see other people's needs. Right now we're working on the garden project right near Glacier, the Allison Whitefield Memorial, and just helping them again step out of themselves and see the community, see people beyond themselves, and the students feel that they're great. They really engage well in those things. So that's kind of our core. And then Nick is going to talk about some new components. I've had the pleasure of having my fantastic new coworker who just hit the ground running, and so he's going to talk about some of the new things we're doing this year.
Thank you.
My name is Nick Farinado, new to the school district this year, and just coming into a new organization like this, I spent the last 12 years in law enforcement, and it was a large department, so I worked in large organizations, but you just have some really exceptional people working here. It's really been a privilege just in a short time to meet some of these people. But the coolest thing is, the thing that's really stuck out, I'm not just saying that to give a plug, it's because I've seen that they genuinely care, and you can't buy that. So that's amazing, and I'm really privileged. And anyways, I'm just going to go over a couple things that we kind of already hit on a little bit, but the new things this year, we have the new sophomore class, like everybody's mentioned a little bit. The senior ascent mentors, though, I do want to talk about that just a little bit more. So these mentors that we have that are seniors, these were the sophomores 3 years ago that just came into the program, that were, you know, identified to come into the program because they were struggling, right, for different reasons. And so I have 2 boys in my class, and Sandy has 2 girls in her class. One of those mentors is here tonight. You're going to hear from her in just a second. Amazing lady, and her mom, and we're just super thankful they're here. They're awesome. But anyway, to see, for my boys, to give you just a couple quick stories, these mentors in my class, you know, I have this group of sophomore boys, and they're wild and excited, some of them, and some of them are completely withdrawn, and you almost wonder if they're sleeping half the time, not realize. But so there's a whole, right, it's a class full of people from struggling with in way different areas. And my two mentors, when we're doing some group time talking, and things are getting wild and crazy, and people are spouting out things that are a little exciting, you know, some of them will just interject something serious, and you can just see these younger sophomores that are completely insecure and struggling really start to just listen to this senior kid who was in their shoes 3 years ago, and they kind of just look at them differently because it's not a teacher talking, it's not an adult, right? It's coming from a peer. So that's one of the successes of the program. For me, it's pretty mind-blowing to see, wow, and they told me, these seniors are like, I talked to them after class, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of crazy. And they're like, that's exactly how we were when we were sophomores. So we had, you know, a couple of kids almost getting in fights the first day, right? These sophomore boys are a little wild, and had to separate some boys and for them have a kid just take a break outside class, and one of my mentors just gets up and goes outside with them and just sits out there with them for 15 minutes and helps them cool down. And just amazing stuff. I mean, really mature things for senior high school boys that were struggling. So that's a big deal. But something else we're doing this year is we're trying to extend into the school a little bit. We're going to be working with the freshmen and hopefully teaching some of our curriculum in some of the freshman classes, just in the general freshman population. Another thing we're doing this year is fundraising. We're not going to, so far we don't have funding for next year, so we're on a fundraising campaign this year. A couple of ways we're doing that is grants, independent donors, and some fundraising events that we'll be sending you guys some of the applications for. So, and if we're not successful with that this year, then we won't be here next year. Is there a way we can go to the next slide? And just a couple of things we're looking at for the future, to have a sophomore class every year from now on. We'll start with a new sophomore group. Juniors and seniors have mentoring opportunities. Right now we just have seniors doing it, but we'd like to have next year some juniors that have, you know, matured enough that they can be mentors to start doing that also. Start a senior advisory board for some of the seniors that kind of got out of the program, but they still want to be involved, to give them an opportunity, a way to be involved in the program. And then by year 5, which will be the year after next, hopefully we'll be at Flathead. And yeah, you want to introduce?
Yeah, I want to introduce these ladies to you. So we wanted to, really, we could stand up here and talk forever, but I think the of my favorite humans that I've known in the last 2 years are Wendy and Athena Story. Athena started as a sophomore with us, and so she's gonna come up, and her mom, Wendy's gonna come up, and they're both just gonna share their experience with you. So thanks.
Okay. Hello, School District 5 board members. My name is Athena Story. I am very grateful to have the opportunity to talk to you about the impact Ascent has had on my life, even though I'm a little bit nervous. Ascent has changed my life in so many incredible ways. Before I even knew what Ascent was, I had no desire to attend college. From my freshman year to my sophomore year, I was constantly being distracted by what was going on around me, including on social media. At the start of my senior year, I knew I wanted to do well in school, I just wasn't putting in the effort to do so. Ascent helped me realize school is important as well as my education. So I started working extremely hard, going early in the morning to my classes to get assignments done and more. The biggest thing that helped me was communication, because I like to do things on my own and I don't like to have help. But I knew that I needed to have more communication with teachers. I currently have all A's and 1 B, which is the best grades I've had so far. Ascent has helped me realize procrastinating does not help you achieve your goals. Through Ascent, I have really been able to understand who I am and what I want to accomplish in my life. I've learned how to handle my feelings in a better way so that I find healthy solutions rather than making my problems worse. I have especially learned self-discipline. All on my own, I realized that TikTok was a huge distraction for me, especially while doing homework. So I decided to leave it to focus on what was really important, which was my academic goals and my future. In Ascent, I have made amazing relationships with the staff and students. Trips were a way to build our relationships, and it gave us a chance to interact with both boys and girls because the girls and boys were separated. The relationships with the staff have helped me to know I always have a place to go for support. By far, my absolute favorite thing about Ascent is the awesome friendships you make. My best friend, Jocelyn, who is the other senior mentor with me in the sophomore girls class. Now, if you knew me and Jocelyn freshman year, you would have never thought that we would have been friends. I know for a fact that if it wasn't for Ascent, Jocelyn and I wouldn't have been friends. My friendship with her is like none other. I would trust her with my life, and I know I can tell her anything. I'm really thankful to be a mentor for the sophomore girls this year. I'm excited to be a leader through the mentoring program, and I'm also very excited to share my experiences and help them through their conflicts and other issues. As you can tell from what I've said, Ascent has made my high school experience much better than it would have been without it. Thank you for supporting Ascent at Glacier, and I hope many kids are able to have the life-changing experience I did. Thank you.
Gotta tell you, that made my mom. Really good.
I almost died.
So bear with me. I too, like Athena, do not like speaking in front of big groups or lots of people. So when I was asked if I would speak, I first was like, I don't think so. But this program has come really close to my heart, and I've seen so much growth in Athena that I want to be able to have everyone know how much this program can help all the teenagers around. Let me bring my notes because I'm a little nervous. So good evening. My name is Wendy Story. The one thing I wanted to kind of focus on is the parent night when we meet together once a month with Andy and now Nick. Sometimes we meet with like a special speaker will speak with us on a special topic, or sometimes it's just with them and all the parents. And sometimes I like those meetings the best because we as parents are able to say, hey, these are my concerns, these are my worries with my teenager, and we're able to kind of work together and talk it out and kind of figure out some solutions and learn some new skills and new ways to kind of help our teenagers. One thing I've learned, especially with communication, like sometimes teenagers can only understand and like accept one statement at a time, and then you got to give them a minute to breathe and digest that and then come back. Or, you know, the best way to talk to your teenagers is when you're not looking at them, like going for long drives and just talking. I found that that is really a good thing. They'll open up a whole lot more and it's a lot easier. But another thing for these nights that we can get together, it's a good opportunity for all of us parents to know that we're in the trenches together. We're not alone. I'm a single mom, so knowing that you have a group of people that are going through the same things and can kind of, you know, you can feed off of each other and help each other out has been really a great experience for me. One of my favorite things, favorite nights is we do a Thanksgiving dinner one where all the families come, all the kids, everyone, and we have a Thanksgiving dinner together, and it's all prepared by the students, and it's really great to see the kids that are, how they're connecting with all the rest of the students, but as well as being proud of everything that they put together for their parents, and it's just really great. Let's see what else. Oh, I also wanted to talk about how I've seen Athena grow leaps and bounds. She used to, when she would get mad, she would shut down and she would not talk to you. You could ask my other advisor. She could shut you up for a long time. But now in her maturity, that she's able to sense that she's getting upset and say, hey, I need a minute, I need to go calm down, and then able to come back and then have a conversation. Sometimes that just still doesn't, I mean, no one's perfect, so it doesn't always happen, which is where Sandy and Nick come into play. Because, like, let's say me and Athena had an argument the night before, and we weren't able to resolve it, Athena's still very upset about it. I could send a quick text to Sandy and be like, hey, this is what happened. Will you check on her to make sure she's okay, or talk with her more about it? And she's more than happy to. I mean, we've talked many, many times on this phone. But I just really love this program. I love everyone that's part of it and everything that they put their heart and soul into it. And the kids feel it, the parents feel it, and it just makes it a really great experience for kids, for teenagers. I know last year we've had some deaths that happened at their school, and I know I was okay sending her to school knowing that if she needed someone, that she knows that she could turn to them and that they would help her through that, and that I wouldn't have to worry about her with doing something like that. She trusted the adults that were around her, that she knew that they loved them, that they love her, and that they're there for her. And I just hope that this program can continue and can bless the lives of many students out there, because I know there's a lot of them that could use the help. And that's it.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate the time.
Yeah. Is there any questions?
I have a lot of questions.
We have a lot of answers.
Good. But I just want to say that I love these programs that we have started that are dealing with issues that interfere with our academic learning. I think it's something we haven't paid a lot of attention to until the last few years. And Lance knows this is something that's near and dear to my heart when I talk here. But I'm getting I'm making the assumption that you have a set curriculum and you meet with the students daily.
Right, so we do have a curriculum, and we are adjusting as we go. You know, I would say this first group of students, we were trying things out, seeing what worked and what didn't. So our curriculum is ever growing for sure, but we do have a curriculum that we use, that we've developed. We worked with some of the English department and other people to develop a full curriculum at the beginning, and then we adjust as we see the needs of the students. But we meet every day. So Athena, comes to to the sophomore class in 6th period, and she mentors there. And then she comes to the 7th period as well for senior ascent. And seniors can either just come to senior ascent in 7th period, or if they're mentors, they can just mentor. So they have lots of options. But yes, we see these students every day in class, and then we meet with them individually at least every 2 weeks.
Okay. Do the students in the program get credit?
They do.
They do?
Every semester they
Good.
get elective credit.
Good. And your current funding runs out at the end of this year, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And I'm assuming you have some kind of a referral process?
We do, yeah, it's kind of multiple streams of referrals from staff, and administration, and then the counselors, we collaborate. And it's a selective process. You know, we wish, and we tell lots of people that we wish we could offer this to every student, you know, because I don't think there's a single student who's not at risk for something. And so some might have a higher degree in certain areas. So we have to select the amount of students that we have in the program, and we go through that list, we collaborate on it, to make sure it's a good fit, because sometimes you throw a certain amount of students in a group together and it's not the best chemistry. So we try to make that group fit well together.
Do you take IEP students in the program?
We do. I would say we do look for students who have less support. So if a student might have a case manager, or they may have a CSCT, behavioral health, social worker that's working with them, we try not to duplicate services. And that was part of the reason why we created this program, because the need was bigger than the resources. You know, you just had all of these students with these needs, and we just couldn't meet them with the amount of programs that we had in the building and even in the community. And so we wanted to alleviate some of those burdens of some of those other programs. So like a behavioral health program, you have to be Medicaid eligible to go into that, whereas our program, oh, sorry. There's a camera?
Yes.
All this time? Anything else I should know? Okay.
I guess I would add to that too, just one of our aims and the way it has worked out too, is that we aim for 70% of our students to fall into the economically disadvantaged category, just because those students tend to have less access to resources. We also fit a niche that we really love to fill, that some parents are thrilled for their kids to have mental health services or whatever kind of services they need. Some have hesitations around that, and for lots of reasons. And so we fill a spot there where some families might not feel as comfortable having their child see a counselor or even be involved in CSCT, but they're okay with them being in this kind of program. So we fill a few gaps there.
Question. So this has been funded via a grant. What's the dollar amount? What is it that you need to do in fundraising, looking for a grant?
So kind of piggyback off of Jack's numbers, because they were, I like those broad numbers. I would say, you know, a ballpark number would be, it takes $100,000 to run a program like this for a year. That includes at one school. So that includes the staff, parent support activities, experiential activities, all of those things encompassed in the program. So yeah, we are. I mean, I can't thank Montana Academy Foundation enough. I mean, I want to publicly say they're extremely generous, not only with their financial resources, but their time. Even to this day, they serve on an advisory board, kind of just speaking into our program. We just really appreciate that.
Jack, did you have a question?
Well, this one was for Athena. How would you describe yourself when you were in 8th and 9th grade? I couldn't hear you.
very stubborn.
I will agree from middle school.
And Wendy, what was your reaction to go to the first parent meeting when you were asked that you needed to participate in it?
Well, I think for the first meeting, it was kind of awkward because like we didn't know what to expect when we were there. But I think the more that I went, the more comfortable I felt sharing what was going on in our life and with Athena, that it made me want to go every single time. I'm like, you could ask them. I'm like their mascot. I love it. It's a great feeling going there knowing that you can talk about everything and anything and be still supported, all around. And so I just love those parent nights are my favorite nights.
Thank you.
Well, I would just add that it's so fun this year to see how this really begins to snowball, because now at our first parent event the other night, we had a bunch of new sophomore parents who were unsure of what in the world we're doing here, and we have parents like Wendy who have been around, and we've now called Wendy our parent mentor. She was able to talk with all the sophomore parents, give them support, let them know, hey, this is a great place to be. So it's really fun, just as the program develops, to see the snowballing effect. I think our numbers will only improve, and our success will only improve as we have more people like Wendy who see, the good that happens.
Okay, I do have one. So Athena, what kind of, friends did you have in 8th and 9th grade compared to your friends you have now?
I would say they weren't the healthiest of relationships. In 8th and 9th grade, I would say, they were keeping me away from what I really wanted to accomplish in life. And I feel like now, I feel like my friend Jocelyn that I was talking about, she has really helped me to realize, to just be myself and just do what I want. I guess.
That was one of my concerns, like when she got into the program, that I was really appreciative about, because that was one of my main concerns, was her getting into the wrong crowd, and just because they accepted her, they were the good crowd that was going to encourage her to move and progress in life. So I think that was a great thing about Ascent, because she was surrounded by girls that were working towards the same goal, and it really helped her.
Micah?
One of the, I think it's the second slide, has some data on it. And one of the things that, as we worked with the Montana Academy Foundation, and since they were cutting the large check every year, they wanted to know, is it working? Is what you're doing actually working? And anecdotally, I could say, yeah, sure, look, we have kids and, but were they seeing any kind of attainment? Were they meeting those goals of planfulness, empathy, and those kind of things? And we actually worked with a couple of statisticians, PhD statisticians at Flathead Valley Community College, and they like numbers and data points, and we had over 35 data points that we were analyzing, and things from GPA, from semester to semester, attendance, behavior issues, whether or not there was drug use prior to the involvement in the program, whether, there was just this plethora of data, and they actually did this was all supposed to be presented in May last year, but then COVID struck and we set it aside. But, to put a numerical value versus anecdotal value on, is this program working? Because you can hear lots of great stories, and there certainly are, but I think those numbers right there speak for what this program is about, that with the right interventions and the right support and the right people in place, you can have an impact. And Athena, you have really grown. I'm very, very proud.
As their elementary principal.
Wow. Wow. What a tough crowd.
You can all be proud.
So does going to the principal's office mean something different now?
Well, I've never been to the principal's office.
Any other questions? Well, thank you all for your hard work.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Information items, Mr. Micah Hill's COVID update.
Mike, I'm here, and I just sent you the typed up document.
Okay, thank you. Hard to know where to start. You know, as we started off in the first couple of weeks, things seem to be going pretty good. Our doors are open. We're engaged in in-person instruction, lots of positives going on. And the last couple of weeks have been really tough on Kalispell Public Schools relative to cases in the district and in the county. Since Saturday, there have been 129 new cases. So we literally doubled the number of active cases in a matter of 3 days in the county, 50 alone on Sunday. And if you read the Beacon article, you can see the incredible strain that the Flathead County Health Department is under in contact tracing and having enough staff to do that. One of the things that's been really challenging in this is actually tracking who, how many are positive, how many are in quarantine, how many have had tests but are still awaiting results. We have staff who have spouses who have tested positive and haven't been contacted by the county health department yet. They're letting us know, and we're having to say, yeah, go home, time to isolate, wait for the county health department, those kind of things. But at my best count is that we have 13 positive staff members in our schools. 9 are currently in isolation. We have 24 quarantined since the start of school year. 21 are currently in isolation or in quarantine, and then we have another.
Wait, slower? I can't listen that fast.
24 quarantined, 21 currently quarantined since the start of the year. And then we have a number of others who are symptomatic, who are getting tested, waiting results. We've had a number who have felt symptomatic, gone and got tested, or negative. But as Tracy and the Human Resource Department try and track all of this for FFCRA type leave, or is it sick leave, or whatever, it is, it's becoming a monumental task. And, you know, we talk about our sub shortages. So I currently have 39 staff district-wide who are out for a period of 2 weeks. You know, and that may include weekends and it, you know, when the date of last contact was and how that impacts and when the date for return, it's an ever-moving target for us. And it has me a little concerned. I had a meeting with the area superintendents today to discuss, you know, do we need to be looking at our plans differently? Had a conversation with County Health Department today with Tammy Robinson. You know, again, looking to her for, like, what are those metrics that we have to say that we cannot continue? If there's a positive in any of this, I was going to say pun intended, but if there's a positive in any of this, right now we currently only have one situation that I'm aware of where there was the potential to have a positive impact, and in fact another person who was put in quarantine and then later became positive, and that was 2 staff members that shared a close office space. The rest of them, it's kind of like popcorn. It pops up here, it pops up there, it pops up here. And when I talked to Tammy, you know, one of my questions is, are you sure that we're not seeing spread within our schools? And the answer is no. They're isolated to this or this or this, and they're coming from close contacts with family members who have tested positive, who don't work in the school system, from children who are in daycare who aren't a part of our school system. We have staff who are being quarantined because their daycare is shut down. And so it feels like there's this snowball effect. And part of it is, you know, what Tammy refers to as the Labor Day bump. And And what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to weather the storm, so to speak, and see how long we can continue to do this. And the answer is really dependent upon the availability of adults to supervise in our classrooms. Teachers who are on quarantine are able to remote into their classroom, but you still have to have an adult present in that classroom for those students for any number of reasons, but educationally related being the primary one. We are, our teachers are stepping up. We're pulling instructional paras to cover teachers who are isolated or in quarantine. Teachers are stepping in to do comp time. We just have a whole variety of things, but we have, especially in our high schools and middle schools, our largest schools is where we are seeing the most cases. When I asked Tamalee for, so how many students in KTS are currently positive or in quarantine, she cannot tell me. They're just keeping this county-wide big picture. What she was able to tell me today was that there were, let me get my notes here. According to her spreadsheet, which is as of 9/21, there were only 12 lab confirmed positive cases with adults. We know we have more than that on our staff, and 34 lab confirmed positive cases with students, and that is county-wide. And we know that we have more than that. We are sending out notifications to families every time, we get the, hey, you've got some positives. We do the contact tracing. County Health Department does the contact tracing, and then we notify, people are notified, and then we notify the families. We don't notify prior to the contact tracing because then people get concerned or worried, like, should I have been called? I'm waiting. Should I call the County Health Department? They're on overwhelm. There was some conversation today about deputizing administrators to assist with the contact tracing from the school perspective. So if they identify a student, we can pull the seating charts, we can get the names and numbers, and we can contact them and say, hey, you're going to be quarantined. County Health Department will be calling you, and we'll fill you in on all the details of that. So, I mean, it's a process, and there is a lot going on with that. On the bright side, schools are still open. We're managing as best we can, but there are certainly some challenges.
Other questions for Micah?
Well, Micah, have you had people that have quarantined twice or 3 times yet?
No, I have not. One of the questions that I did ask Tamalee, I had heard a rumor that if you had tested positive, that you had a 90-day window where you didn't have to quarantine if you were identified as a close contact. She contacted the state health department and they said no. So even if you were a positive and then you later come in contact, you would be quarantined again.
Michael, would it be fair to say, since we're not seeing spread amongst students or staff, that perhaps some of our measures of physically distancing, wearing a mask, hand sanitizer have been effective?
Within the school setting, yes.
Within the school setting.
I think the challenge is where you're seeing that spread outside of the school setting. And, we can certainly control whether or not you wear a mask in school. We have the hand sanitizer everywhere. We have all these things going on. But the bigger challenge is, what happens outside of that. If a sports team decides to have a slumber party and a hot tub party, and one of them's sick, they all get quarantined. It's those kind of things that are starting to creep in and have an impact on us.
So Micah, if you want to pull up my latest document, it's in your email and it says share this one. I want everybody to know that my numbers are a little bit different than Micah's. He has reported 39, I have 35, and that just shows you the difference in how the information is communicated. And that's something that we're working on as a central admin team and as a K-12 admin team, making sure that everybody gets the same information at the same time. But I think if you take a look at my information that I provided, you can at least see some trends. knowing that my numbers are just a little bit different than what you have. So Mike, I can't tell if it's up on the screen.
It's not, I'm not presenting, Tracy.
Oh, you're not going to present? Okay. Who's presenting?
Callie.
Callie.
Okay. I mean, we could certainly pull it up. I don't know at this point that it's going to add more to the conversation, but what's interesting looking at this is we have one school that has been, that is currently unaffected by any positive cases. And, you know, so we're talking about staff, but we also have the student side of this where, you know, we're averaging, you know, somewhere around 18, 20 kids for a close contact. You know, when we saw in Whitefish where they had 3 cases in one grade level and they closed down an entire grade level. You know, so we could certainly look at that. And I guess, you know, part of the reason for the update is to just give you kind of that, here's where we're currently at, and we're feeling like we're getting close to our adult capacity in terms of being able to effectively continue to operate. You know, everybody at the district office has said, hey, put me in a classroom, I'll go sub. You know, but they also have other jobs that have to be done every day as well. You know, so people are stepping up to try and help. We're hopeful that our push with recruitment and retention on substitutes will aid us in that. But at the same time, I don't have a crystal ball to project what's going to happen in the future. Yeah.
There's a couple questions from online. Should I just have them contact you directly?
Sure.
Okay. So Mr. Sean Pandina, if you just want to give Mr. Micah Hill a call tomorrow, or Micah can reach out. I'm sure he's got your number. Is that true?
Yep.
You know, it's a public comment time, not a public question time. So. But to let you know too, any running commentary or questions that I've been receiving will be put. Maybe you can copy it and send it over to Beth and put it in the public record. Any other questions from trustees for Mr. Hill?
Micah, this is Amy. I was just wondering how lunch was going. I think that was probably one of the biggest challenges, right? Is that going smoothly? And
well, yeah, I would say yes. I was at Flathead High School today, observed their lunchtime. I was at Glacier last week. I've been in the elementary schools to observe, and those things seem to be going pretty smoothly right now. And I'm not aware of any close contacts that have been traced back to lunchtime at this point.
All right. Any other questions from trustees? Okay. Thank you, Micah.
I'm smiling underneath my mask.
Okay. Consent agenda, and this is elementary only because it's only elementary matters. So if there's an elementary trustee who wishes to make a motion on the consent agenda, that would be splendid.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Further discussion? Elementary trustees, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ursula, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Would anyone care to make a motion to adjourn?
Oh, my favorite motion. I want to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? You're opposed? You're opposed? No. Adjourned.
I confirm, I
Everybody.
confirm.